Story 1. That I think I know everything. Well, I knew she was cheating on me, so there's that anyway. Story 2. I was closed off and emotionally unavailable. She was right. I worked on it by studying and taking time to understand my own feelings, what causes the negative ones, and how I react to them. After almost 10 years of doing that, I am a much happier person. Thank you, Christina. Story 3. I am evil, selfish, ungrateful, annoying, not right in the head, a stupid fat chav. I am reassured by everyone else in my life that I am not any of those things. He told me this while we were married too. Story 4. Apparently, my idea of quality time was overdoing it. I thought spending time together was good. Story 5. I got upset when I found out he was cheating on me. That is my fault. I should have handled it with grace and asked him if he needed a cookie and warm milk after going through that. Story 6. I am just crazy, along with all his other exes, coincidentally. Story 7. According to him, nothing. We would just be better as friends. Of course, he never spoke to me again after that, even when he started dating my best friend at the time. Story 8. I am just an all-around terrible person, according to my former partner. To be fair, she is not wrong. I was an all-around terrible person, so the person she knew is who she still sees when we have to meet. Story 9. I was immature. After we broke up, I took a long, hard look at myself and realized she was mostly right. I really was immature. Fortunately, I was able to fix all the things she disliked about me and became the confident, funny, and caring man I believe women look for. At the same time, I met the woman I have been with for the last 25 years. She helped polish the remaining rough edges, and now I feel like the man I was always meant to be. Story 10. Controlling and difficult. He was cheating on me and got another girl pregnant. I found panties in his bed. I was foolish to stay through it all, but I admit I can be controlling and difficult. Story 11. I wasn't supportive enough. I wouldn't sit in his room at his mother's house alone all weekend while he was out working. I was probably sleeping around. I went out with my friends while he was working. I wanted too much from him. I wanted him, a 27-year-old, to move out of his mother's house. Story 12. Addict, childish, refused to acknowledge boundaries. In my own head too much and too clingy. I need to find what makes me happy. She was right about it all. I changed absolutely everything. I literally did it like a checklist, changed or am working on changing them all. Story 13. All I care about is money. The truth is I cared about being able to cover our bills. My 40 hours were not enough, so she should also get a job instead of being my dependent. If we do not have a child, there is no reason for you to be a stay-at-home girlfriend, especially if ends are not meeting. Story 14. Apparently, I am a child because I do not use drugs, not even alcohol. Story 15. Not making enough money. She went for a millionaire who made his money illegally and is now in prison. Not sure, but she may have dodged a bullet. Story 16. I was really mean to her after she cheated on me. I remember her saying I was not the nice person everyone thinks I am because behind closed doors she claimed I was a real jerk. My defense is she cheated on me and I was losing my mind. This was after 7 years of living together, and I tried to make things work. Sadly, I turned into a very bad version of myself over that time, but I am doing much better now. I spent the last 2 years being single and working on myself. Those were very dark times. Story 17. I do not have confidence, and I was too invested in the relationship. Story 18. Obviously crazy all his ex-partners were. I irrationally objected to playing second fiddle to his mother. He was then nearly 40. I am physically scarred. There was a very clear line drawn in the relationship before and after major surgery. Story 19. I was a cheating, lying, narcissistic, drunk jerk, and she was absolutely right. Therapy is a powerful experience. Story 20. I'm clingy. Sorry, I wanted to see you once a week instead of every 6 weeks, Brian. Story 21. Nothing. I'm a kind, empathetic, intelligent person. Story 22. Fear of commitment and inability to open up. Many factors led to that split, but they were not entirely incorrect here. Story 23. According to my ex, I am caught up in my own world. According to me, I am caught up in my own world. She had a good read on me for sure. Story 24. Flat bottom, flat chest, acne, and I was not skilled at acrylic painting. That was 10 years ago. Flat chest was accurate, but I have not painted much since. Story 25. I have made mistakes in the past. I am now in a loving relationship of 5 years, soon to be married. Story 26. Too low maintenance. He wanted a girl who would spend his money, call him to complain that he was not spending enough time with her, and be interested in getting their nails done. Apparently, I just was not girly enough. Story 27. To be fair, I have bipolar disorder and she has something that she will not get checked for. For the majority of our relationship, I was unmedicated, and that was hard for her because living with someone with a mental illness is difficult. Then I got medicated and realized she was abusing me, so I ended it. I guess she would say I am crazy for many legitimate reasons. Story 28. Lack of my personal social life outside of work was a reason she spoke out. I don't see the friends that are still in my life often, but I know they would be there if I needed them. She was scared that we would be lonely as a couple. I am not the one for festivals, but I spend more time on my hobbies. Story 29. Apparently, I fell out of love with her and that I am a narcissist. Coincidentally, that is her description of all of her exes. She also left me to get back with an ex. Story 30. He said he cheated on me because I was letting myself go. I am 5 feet 10 inches tall. At the beginning of the relationship, I weighed 122 pounds. When I left, I was about 100 to 105 pounds. The abuse stressed me so much I could barely eat. I was 18 years old at the time. He was 34, but he originally told me he was 26. The girl he cheated on me with had just turned 15. What he meant by letting myself go was that I was aging. Story 31. I am not useless, crazy, lazy, or slow. He was an ass. Story 32. All my ideas are foolish. After 3 years apart, she is living with her mother while I own my house in the woods, have a new sports car, money in the bank, and plenty of free time to be here. Story 33. I do not care what he thinks of me. I divorced him. I am allowed not to care anymore. Story 34. Easier to list the things that she did not find wrong. 1. I never cheated. Start of things that were wrong with me. 1. I cleaned the house. 2. I listened. 3. I paid the bills with no complaint, even when she spent too much money on her brothers again. 4. I did not let her deadbeat pothead brother borrow my car. 5. I wanted my friends and family to visit, but she gaslit and manipulated me into isolating myself from them. She was a college-trained therapist, so she made it all my idea. 6. I have ADHD and could not just turn it off. 7. I was always wrong, and her brothers who said the same thing I did were always right. 8. I was always home on time. 9. I did not go out often, see number 5. 10. I was not a big supporter of whatever cause she took up that week, like Satanism. 11. When she ended our engagement on my 40th birthday, she was upset that I did not want her mother to come over and talk negatively about my family. The list goes on. It has taken almost 3 years to come back to myself, and my health is still not very good. I quit smoking and drinking though, so there is that. Story 35. I was smiling a lot after I had my braces removed and enjoyed the attention I was receiving. The attention was not even from males. I simply received more compliments about how happy I looked from our teachers and friends, and he did not like it. Story 36. I didn't go to college like her, so I was beneath her. The idea of taking my last name made her upset because her name had so much value. She said, "Where would you be without my parents?" Which is correct. Her parents helped me become a great person who was capable of taking care of their daughter. She is adopted, so where would you be without your parents? She cheated on me twice. I'm the fool who took her back after the first time. Lesson for kids. Once a cheater, always a cheater. Never take them back. Story 37. I had a male genital organ. She realized she preferred her sexual partners to not have one. Story 38. Do not know, do not care. If it is not meant to be, it is not meant to be. Story 39. He feels jealous of everyone around him when he comes into contact with me. Story 40. I did not have a perfect body as I have scars from a cesarean section. Real women do not apparently own that well. His loss, I am much happier now. Story 41. I am controlling because I did not like her hanging out alone in the middle of the night with a guy she used to date. Another person would say I go looking for things because I caught her in multiple lies and hiding things from me. One thing about me is I am not dumb and I do not play around. I cover my bases and will find out if you are trying to be sneaky. Everyone gets the benefit of the doubt until they do not. Often I will not even say that I know, but I always do. People do not like being called out on their behavior. Story 42. I do not know, she had some complaint, but I was not really paying attention. Story 43. She would probably say something like, he did not want an open relationship, and his inflexibility and unwillingness to give it a try were emotionally abusive and drove me to cheat on him. Story 44. They would likely tell you I am too stubborn for my own good. I have a hard time letting things go, and it drove them crazy. Story 45. Apparently, I didn't have enough aspirations. Meanwhile, she is a personal support worker in a nursing home, still living in her aunt's house at 26, single, and without much else going on in her life. I am a construction foreman for a very large company overseeing many new homes being built. I also have a loving partner of 5 years, with plans to be together forever. I have the best dog in the world, and my girlfriend has a cat who also lives with us now. Granted, when she broke up with me, I was 19 years old and working as a cashier at a grocery store. I was also doing a lot of mushrooms and exploring the meaning of life. But she was not doing anything at the time other than finishing high school because she had not graduated on time, and she was unemployed. So it really bothered me at the time because it sounded like she just wanted a guy who was further ahead in life with a bigger career to carry her through life, instead of having an equal partner. Story 46. I would wager the most common answer among my approximately 12 former partners is either he is insecure or he does not perform oral sex on me. Story 47. Being vulnerable here, but everything is about you. This is something I am working on. I am not an unpleasant person, but I definitely forget to appreciate others at times. Again, I am working on this and growing every day. Story 48. I make her uncomfortable, and I never think that I am treated as well as her friends. Story 49. It depends on which one you ask. The most recent reason was that I was a bad parent. Before that, I was the biggest narcissist she had ever met. I was too friendly with members of the other sex. I am bisexual, but chatting with other men was not an issue. I would not support her drug addiction. My favorite one by far was that my depression was too deep for me to be able to love anyone, so she would not love me. That one really hurt. Story 50. I am bipolar and have anger issues. Her exact words. Nothing was wrong with her, of course, and even though I broke up with her, she said she dumped me. Story 51. At 22, I had not grown up. I took life too seriously. But then again, she lied about her age the day we met. Story 52. I have gained 11 pounds in 6 years and did not use enough makeup. Also, every reason he gave was from his mother. He could not even come up with reasons for the breakup himself. Story 53. I was self-absorbed and a neglectful, inconsiderate boyfriend. They were not wrong. I did some real soul-searching before my next relationship. That relationship is now 17 years strong, so I think it worked out all right. Story 54. I am too broken by trauma to be happy, at least shortly after I left him. Later, I was called manipulative and a gold digger. I am unsure if I am still traumatized. My partner strongly disagrees with all those sentiments. Story 55. My ex would probably say I am too independent. They felt like I did not rely on them enough, and it made them feel disconnected. Story 56. I deployed and left her alone, and she had to fill that hole with something. Story 57. She said I never listened to what she told me or something like that. I do not really remember. I was not paying attention. Story 58. One girl I broke up with yelled at me while walking out my door. Good for me. Your penis is too big anyway. Honestly, I am only slightly above average, but we were young and inexperienced, so there was a time when she hurt herself while on top. Still, it was not as bad as she seemed to think. Story 59. I am self-centered by wanting to relax after 12-hour days at work. I do not do enough around the house, such as dishes and laundry, but she was a stay-at-home mom and the kids went to school. I am an alcoholic. I discovered I drank so much because that was my coping mechanism for her abusiveness. Thanks to therapy, I do whatever I want now. Before, she did not let me talk to friends, did not let me talk to coworkers, did not let me play video games, did not let me read books, did not let me listen to my music, did not let me watch the shows I wanted to watch, and did not let me have time alone. Story 60. Short, broke, absent-minded, undereducated, underwhelming. Story 61. Wow, buddy, what is wrong with me according to him? Laughing my ass off. Story 62. Controlling and visionless. I was diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder, bipolar disorder, and amnesia years later after she left me, lastly saying that. Story 63. I take things too literally. I reach conclusions too quickly. My ex would never explain himself or communicate anything, so I had to do it. Story 64. The ex who is still my friend told me that we were better as friends. She was right. Story 65. I did everything she specifically requested and avoided what she said she did not like. What I did not account for is that at any moment, these likes and dislikes can be reversed, discarded, or ignored. In summary, she was not listening. Story 66. Jealous. It turned out he asked my best friend behind my back if she wanted to date him even though I was still his girlfriend. After just 2 days of breaking up, he already had a different girlfriend. I wish I had found out I was a lesbian sooner, not necessarily because he was a cheater, but because he was also a groomer and a sexual harasser. Story 67. I am emotionally unavailable, which is definitely a problem. I do not like to be touched all the time, so physical affection was not as common. However, I am working on myself because I know where I am an issue. Story 68. She felt like I wanted more than her. She has fear of abandonment with severe commitment issues. Story 69. Absolutely nothing. She only had amazing things to say to me and about me. Unfortunately, her constant lies and actions showed her true colors. She is now back with her abusive ex, the literal next day after we talked. Story 70. My biggest flex is nothing. I have only had 2 serious relationships, lasting 5 years and 3 years respectively, and both ended because of them. They knew it and still do, yet they still try to come back. My most recent ex said I talked way too much. I believe that is true. Story 71. I am anxious and consistently negative, but his lying and cheating were totally justifiable. Story 72. She didn't say there was anything wrong with me. She just said that she doesn't feel like she is in love with me anymore and thought that keeping me around would only be deceiving me. Story 73. I enjoy comic books, science fiction, and steampunk cosplay. I clean as I go, so I do not create messes. I also cleaned while she was at work, allowing me to work at my own pace with my music or podcast playing. Story 74. He thinks I am crazy and a liar. I left him because he is a master grifter, prescription drug-addicted sociopath, abuser, and manipulative narcissist. Story 75. Everything, but apparently I am a good leader. Then I am accused of being controlling. Story 76. I would not put out. The one thing I told him I was not going to do when we started dating. Every guy seems to think they will be the one who will change my mind. Story 77. I care deeply about small details and tend to overthink everything. Story 78. Even though I had a job, I didn't have a car because it was wrecked. I couldn't get my friends to drive me to see her. She knew I didn't have a car when we started dating, but apparently it started to bother her. Later, I realized that wasn't the case because after she broke up with me, she started dating someone who didn't have a car or a job. Story 79. Everyone who knows me knows I wouldn't say boo to a goose and that I am pretty sensitive and loving. After we broke up, she posted online that she had just come out of a domestic abuse relationship. I was hurt for a bit, but when everybody confirmed they know me and some people said she had done this sort of thing before, I accepted it. Story 80. Was told by my ex she was breaking up with me because my penis was too big and it was painful. This is how I knew she was talking to her abusive ex and was about to go back to him because we both knew that statement was a lie. Story 81. I was never sure, and the same applies to my current situation, but there is something seriously wrong with me. Story 82. I am a psycho, I am cheap, I am insecure, I do not like dogs. Story 83. I do not process my emotions or any conflict in my life. I just put them away in the darkest corner of my brain until further notice. I am a selfish person. Story 84. My problem is that, unlike her, I am not a person who loved someone else the entire time. Story 85. Everything I say sounds sarcastic, and I am too humble while being arrogant at the same time. Story 86. Anything and every single thing, he was a full-blown narcissist. Story 87. Probably my attachment style. I am an anxious attachment person, so I have trouble trusting partners fully and worry about whether or not they are committed. It is something I am actively working on, along with not being preoccupied with being in a relationship to begin with. They told me it was stressful for me to be so anxious over them, which I understand, especially with them being the avoidant type. We exacerbated one another's patterns. It is a valid complaint. However, it is hard not to be like that when I have my fears confirmed. They still loved their ex. So all I could think about was every moment we shared together. They probably just wished I was him. Every kind thing they told me was either about him or dishonest. I recognize I should not harbor distrust for future partners based on this person's actions. Other than that valid complaint, I think they would have to grasp at straws to find anything truly wrong with me. I know how that sounds, but I know my worth and what I bring to the table at this point. I am an affectionate, supportive person by nature, and they were not used to that and seemingly always thought it was an act on my part. I guess I can understand that if your only experience with partners has been historically manipulative or abusive, I would probably keep my guard up too. Anyway, I am always working on myself and strive to be the best possible version of me for the sake of those around me and myself. I want to make sure I can be a secure person the next time around. Story 88. I am not good at sex, so everyone has cheated on me. Now, I am no longer passionate about it. Story 89. I spent so much time single that I became comfortable there. When anything gets hard in a relationship, I end it and return to having a world that only involves me. Story 90. My first ex used to accuse me of being too perfect. The fact that she was wrong goes without saying. But what does that even mean? Story 91. I do not listen and keep asking the same thing repeatedly until I hear what I want to hear. I am told that I am too much and overthink everything. Story 92. She had some interesting ideas. Her main issue was not taking accountability for my actions, which doesn't just mean acknowledging that there is an issue, talking about how we are going to address it, and taking steps toward it. It also means acknowledging that she was right all along with her conclusions because she was always right. The latter was difficult when she made accusations that I deliberately avoided paying when we bought food together to cook dinner as a way to save money. We stayed at her place more than mine for the 6 months we were dating because it worked out more convenient for her work schedule, and I did not mind either way. When we stayed at mine and went to the store to get food, I paid. When we stayed at hers, she mostly paid because we would get stuff for ourselves at the same time. I did not think twice about it because we are talking maybe 30 euros a month, and both of us earn enough that such a sum does not matter. However, she could not get over it or let it go until I admitted that it was all a deliberate strategy, which is crazy. There were a few other things like it. I could work on my communication and make sure she did not feel burdened to the point she had to have such conversations with me, but I was never going to admit to things that were simply not true just for appeasement, and therefore I was unable to take accountability for my actions. There were other things too, like when I mentioned that if we got married, a fair thing to do in my eyes would be for me to buy half of an apartment she owned, as opposed to it just becoming ours as a marital asset. She saw that as coming for her property and took it badly, which is not what I intended at all. Either way, I hit rock bottom when she left because I was so sure I was going to marry her. She has a lot of good qualities. I miss her from time to time, and I wish we had been able to stay in touch. She unfortunately has a very troubled family history, and I think and worry about her occasionally. I hope she is happy and in a good place wherever she is, but from a relationship point of view, it is very hard to work with someone who will not work with you even a little bit. I am in a much better spot now anyway. I am with a wonderful woman who does not bring nonsense like that to the table, and who will have honest conversations with me without anger. I am happy, and I am happier than I would have been trying to make that other relationship work. I have another ex before the one I talked about above, who I was with for 10 years. We met at 19 and split at 29. We grew apart, developed different hobbies, and she decided cheating was the way to spice things up. I am not happy that is how she went about it, but it is nothing to hold a grudge over. We are both much happier now, and I still have some loose contact with her. Story 93. In his own words, I am too nice and he just is not. Definitely dodged a bullet. Story 94. He would not say, just that we were going in different directions in life. Story 95. I couldn't, according to their standards, showcase much emotional response, whether verbally, through words, or physically. I give gifts, perform acts of service, and am responsible, but never express it like Pepe Le Pew would. Basically, I am emotionally unavailable, probably due to trauma and abuse growing up. They are not wrong. It is something I have to work on myself. Luckily, my wife understands me, and it doesn't mean I don't love her. I just have trouble showing it. Story 96. I have too much emotional baggage and I am mentally unstable. According to another ex-partner, I am the meanest person they have ever met. Story 97. I became a depressed person who only liked drinking, fishing, playing video games, and watching television. She wasn't wrong. I am now sober and working on my mental health. I do not fish as much these days, but not because of her, just due to lack of time. Video games and television are still part of my life, but in moderation. I am happily married to an amazing woman now. Story 98. I did not care about my children. That statement is incorrect. Story 99. That I am codependent. Then she messaged me every 3 days for 9 months until I finally agreed to hang out with her again. Now she messages daily. Story 100. I blame other people for things. We broke up yesterday, and I was done for a while because I can't be with someone who thinks it is okay to point a phone like a gun at a police car while I was driving. The blaming comes into play where I would say I am upset all the time from dumb things he did, and it would trigger feelings I did not need to be upset about. Things built up, and he would just tell me to get over it and he would not learn. Story 101. Too nice, not enough drama. I guess being a good partner is bad. Story 102. I have anger issues. I do. But she still did things that I told her I did not like. That is why we are now broken up. Story 103. I am just so jealous. Does not everyone buy nude photos and videos from their ex-girlfriend while they are in a committed relationship and hide it? Story 104. This was decades ago. A mutual friend told me that an ex broke up with me because I still lived at home as a freshman in college. The college was near my hometown. Story 105. I did not have enough patience to let her work through what she wanted to do in life and to let her spend time playing Xbox live with her friends all day while I was employed. Story 106. I did not communicate the fact that I did not love her anymore, which was true. Personally, I do not think that it was worse than her hysterically narcissistic tendency to touch my friends without their or my consent, but apparently I was being unreasonable. Story 107. According to my ex, my inability to secure a law job when I moved to be with him, despite having been a public defender, and being forced to take a non-law job to support him during his graduate program was a huge turnoff. He never regained his attraction to me. Story 108. That I am a narcissist with borderline personality disorder. I am not diagnosed with either of those conditions. He armchair diagnosed me, or his ex-affair neighbor was whispering in his ear. Story 109. I have not had an ex since high school because I have been with my wife for 12 years now. since our senior year. From what I remember, aside from my ex deciding to cheat on me, her problem with me was that I overindulged and cared more about partying. She was not wrong, but that is no excuse to cheat on someone. I am glad she did, though, because I got to be with my wife the next year. Story 110. My ex claimed that me being sexually assaulted triggered him and reminded him of when he was supposedly falsely accused of rape years ago. Story 111. I am a cheater even though I did not cheat. It turns out it was just projection since he was cheating on me. Story 112. I think about everything too rationally and never from an emotional standpoint. Story 113. I am the devil. Even though he cheated and is bipolar and apparently autistic. Story 114. That I am cold. Sorry, it is what happens when you are dead inside. Story 115. I am a dreamer, not seeing reality. I always think things will turn out right. Not taking things seriously enough leaves chores undone so I can do fun things. I make promises and do not deliver. I forget too much and make a lot of mess in the house. I am indifferent in bed and do not tend to his needs at all. Story 116. Oh God. The list is too long to even remember. It was basically her projecting her toxic traits onto me. It got to the point where I just started laughing when she lashed out. Yeah, that was a doozy. Pulling the eject lever was the best thing I ever did. Story 117. Oh, this is so good. After lying about his entire existence, education, wives, kids, and everything else, he said it was because I picked at my food. Story 118. There are two stories, depending on whether you listen to what she told me or what she told other people to justify her actions and abandonment of her responsibilities. She lies to suit her whims and make herself look good in the public eye. Story 119. I am not a different person. Most breakups happen because two people are not right for each other. Story 120. I am indecisive and not independent. However, I was decisive enough to end the relationship as soon as I found out he was married with children. Story 121. That I am struggling emotionally. Because I had an emotional semi-public reaction to finding out they slept with their best friend 3 months after we broke up, following a 2-year relationship. They kept telling me they did not want to have sex. Apparently, it was only with me that they did not want to have sex. Story 122. That I did not try hard enough to stay with her while supporting her and her 2 sons at the cost of my time, money, and sanity. Story 123. She said, "You're too perfect. Whoever is lucky enough to be with you will be incredibly happy." I said, "I don't care about anyone else other than you." She said, "Sorry, I can't give you as much time as I used to. I don't love you anymore. Please don't text me back." Story 124. I was supposed to understand that it is okay for us to see other people was a loyalty test. Story 125. According to my ex-girlfriend, I have anger issues. What she seems to be completely unaware of is that you cannot neglect your partner's feelings and dismiss their attempts at voicing their frustration for years without some anger building up. I am glad she is in the past and my inner peace has been restored. Story 126. Nothing. She literally said there is nothing wrong with me. She just did not want to do it anymore, and somehow it has been the most difficult thing for me to accept. Everything was amazing, then it was over just like that. Story 127. They did not tell me anything. Each person gave me the "you are a sweet guy, but" speech. One of them said I was obsessed with her. My peers disliked her then, so hopefully it was not an accurate statement. I would secretly love for someone to just tell me everything I have done wrong. Story 128. Oh, I am lazy, overweight, selfish, and unmotivated. I have let myself go. Yet, while engaged to his second wife, he still propositioned me for sex because apparently since we had already been married, it was not technically cheating on her. Story 129. You're too sensitive. Except when my divorce lawyer started playing hardball. You don't understand business and you're wasting your time. I managed a bookstore for 4 years. Then, following my divorce, I started and ran my own business for 25 years. You're not smart enough to understand the financial issues you've caused by running our joint credit cards to the limit and paying for your accounts payable. Yeah. That was fun. Story 130. I don't want children, especially with a homeless and jobless 40-year-old who lost his car and license due to a DUI. He is an alcoholic and an emotional vampire who used me as an ATM, taxi, and bed and breakfast for almost 3 years. I can't imagine why I never wanted to have children with him. His sister, who became a mother as a teenager, called me stupid when we broke up for not wanting to have his babies. I still roll my eyes out loud thinking about that. Story 131. That I am a prude, which to him was proved by how I did not like it when he repeatedly cheated on me. Story 132. I wanted a stable career. She wanted to move to a new country every year. She never did any of that and was dating someone else 2 months later. Story 133. I am the most stubborn person she had ever met. I said no and stuck to my guns instead of agreeing to us buying a house that I would never have any right to, and paying her rent to live in. Story 134. I am emotionally unsafe, which is why she was with someone else for 4 months while we were trying to conceive. Story 135. I am too caring and sweet, and I am also supposed to respect being ignored, apparently, because communication is not considered important. Story 136. Apparently, I gave her the mental health issues that she had been struggling with for decades before she knew me. Also, I think I am a mind reader because I kept catching her in some lies. Story 137. Because I was too emotionally damaged to have a deep relationship, I wanted to stay in the fun dating stage forever, and he wanted genuine commitment. Story 138. Apparently super controlling. Of course, I am a bit of a buzzkill for preventing her from parking in handicapped spots when she was not handicapped, telling her not to joke about my mother's will and when she would have a spot for discussions, as well as her being unfaithful. So yes, she was definitely right. Then again, she did have a point about me not being as much of a provider as I could have been as a man, so I am working toward getting my finances settled so I can actually provide for the people I care about. Story 139. That I am heartless. I ended things because he lied about still living with his mother, and she was the one who told me on his behalf. Maybe I am selfish, but you are 35 and live with your mother, so you know. Story 140. I am very selective. I have standards and limited money, so if I have already eaten lunch, I will not spend more money on a plain pepperoni pizza that I might only eat one slice of. She was my last ex, and I am much better off without her in my life. Story 141. That I am a homewrecker and liar. Not sorry that in his breakup message, he said he had a long-term girlfriend the entire time we dated, so I found her and sent her proof. Story 142. I just could not let him live his life, which included cheating and getting excessively drunk every day. Story 143. I did not support him enough, according to him. He cheated, gambled, misused alcohol, smoked, and lied to me, yet he still expected me to cheer him on all the time. After 28 years, there was not much to cheer for anymore. Story 144. Apparently my issue is that I am a piece of shit. Not sure what to do with that. Story 145. I was not trying for a career. I was trying to survive and pay rent. I could not handle online college. She became a teacher's aide and thought she had a career. She wanted me to bring home the money while she pursued hobbies. I could not fold laundry correctly. She had a specific Japanese way to do it. Anything I did was a disappointment to her. She just got bored of me. She said I was wasting her 20s. Story 146. I dated a girl I met at university. We were both 18 and dated for 4 years. She was really intelligent, and we had taken some of the same core classes together. I got an A grade in every course we took as we studied together. However, outside of those classes, I mostly got B and C grades. I did not really have any direction and was partying too much and not dedicated. She said I did not have my priorities straight and was not invested in my future. We broke up. What can I say? She was totally correct, and I have had many ups and downs and many bad choices in the last 30 years. I have lived with several girlfriends but never got married or had children. The ex-girlfriend is and has been a successful, respected attorney in different areas of law and currently is an attorney for the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Union in a high position. She also has never married or had children. I thought that was kind of interesting as well. Story 147. I gave 150% of my time to our daughter, and he felt neglected. This man never lifted a finger to help with anything in the house or with our daughter, and only took out the trash. He did not even know where her school was located, and we lived together. Story 148. 1. I wasn't attractive enough for him to get erect. I didn't have a nicely shaped jawline, and my shoulders were too broad. I had too much weight. 2. I dressed too conservatively, like things my grandma would wear. 3. I was showing too much skin. I was literally wearing a similar outfit as number 2. 4. He didn't like that I was snacking on vegetables and fruit. 5. He didn't like my organization skills. I admit I am lacking here. 6. He didn't like that I was close to my family. I did spend too much time with them due to their health problems, but he wanted me to cut them off completely. 7. He didn't like that I wanted to hang out with friends or go to events and parties. I don't mean parties where you get drunk. I mean some childhood friend's wedding or my niece's best friend's child's first birthday. 8. I talked to other men too much. I worked as an auditor and had to talk to men, business owners, lawyers, coworkers. He would get paranoid, check my things, and accuse me of cheating. 9. I was too attached to my pets. Story 149. When our marriage was failing because of his infidelity, he told me that I was just as responsible for his cheating as he was. I asked him what I did to make him cheat, and he screamed at me, "You married me!" He had me there. He couldn't have committed adultery if I hadn't married him. So what is wrong with me is that I was willing to marry him. Story 150. That I am a selfish person for not wanting to have children when we were both broke and barely getting by paycheck to paycheck with no money in the bank. Story 151. I made her unhappy by pushing her to seek mental and emotional help when she was constantly negative and nihilistic about everything. I realized that I could not help her by myself. I was then unsupportive and abusive by asking her how her appointments were and not being open and understanding when she hung out with friends I did not care much for. I also asked too much when I requested time from her after I started seeing a therapist for my own issues. I was not understanding when she cheated on me with the friend I introduced her to. I did not show my appreciation for her when I decided to move halfway across the country without her help so I could be with her. Story 152. I was not educated enough. The person he was cheating on me with had just finished her bachelor's degree, while I was still completing my associate's degree. Story 153. I was just really sad. I totally was. He was right. Now, with my current partner's support, I have discovered I actually have obsessive-compulsive disorder, and I am no longer just really sad all the time. Story 154. I am too mentally ill to date, he said as I was breaking up with him. Story 155. I was never supportive of him. I moved countries to be with him. Story 156. I was not his ex-girlfriend with whom he was still having sex. Story 157. He also thinks if we were attacked, we should just lie down and take it, not even try to fight back because we could hurt the attacker. Story 158. All my exes said I was perfect. I guess that means literally everything is wrong with me. Story 159. I wasn't willing to accept that his sex addiction, which included paying women he met online to sexually dominate him, had nothing to do with his love for me. Basically, he had no plans to get help. I found out he got married a couple of weeks ago. Should I have sent her an anonymous letter? Story 160. Oh my God. I have been waiting for this. He called me, and I quote, a high school rich person drama queen. He cheated on me with my friends and then spread a rumor that I was pregnant. But I was the drama queen. Story 161. That I am a narcissist just like all her other exes. Apparently, finally standing up for myself and breaking up with that toxic person makes me a narcissist. She also said I was materialistic because I bought a new car after having the previous one for 10 years, and I like to take care of the things I owned. Story 162. According to him, I am a fucking bitch because I withdrew my name from the lease of the apartment he lived in, and he got evicted. I did that because he strangled me after he imagined that I was smoking a cigarette inside the apartment. He was home, and I would have never done that because I do not smoke inside, and I know he hates the smell of cigarettes. Typical narcissist. I am so glad I cut all ties with that person. Story 163. That I was cheating, that I was not a virgin when we met, that I was abusive or crazy, that I gave him herpes, and that I murdered our roommate. Story 164. I nag a lot and explode from nowhere, apparently. Meanwhile, he never put stuff in the dishwasher nor emptied it, always forgot the laundry in the shared laundry room, had late parties in the middle of the week. If he cooked, he only made food for himself. Otherwise, he always ate the lunch boxes I made for work. He parked in my parking spot, making me pay for guest parking. In my own apartment complex. He never cleaned even when I asked, and left the vacuum in front of the computer. Somehow he couldn't or forgot to buy milk from the store, a 3-minute walk away, even though I put up notes on the computer, fridge, and door and called about it 3 times. But yes, I explode from nowhere. Story 165. Nothing. According to the last 2, I am perfect, which in both cases was a major reason we did not work. My psychiatrist says it is not healthy for me to be held to a standard of perfection and that I should not be placed on a pedestal like that. I agree with her. It always made me feel strange. Story 166. I am impulsive and make rash decisions. For example, I showed up without notice with a moving truck and left him after he tried to push me down the stairs. Story 167. That I am so used to being sad that I am scared to be happy. She absolutely nailed it. Story 168. Nothing. They would take me back in a heartbeat and still try to keep in touch. Story 169. You hesitate when you talk to me. Your friends like. Story 170. Attitude. I did not give him any peace, meaning I was not satisfied with our intimacy and struggled to forgive him for taking my virginity while he had a secret girlfriend and was cheating. Story 171. My life got way better when I stopped seeking this answer. Story 172. I am still the same person I was when I was 18 because people do not change. This comes from someone who still acted 18 in their 30s. Story 173. I am too sensitive. Apparently, getting upset while she flirts with other people right in front of me is not being able to take a joke. Story 174. Apparently, I hang out with other girls too much. I aspire to make a living in the arts. After some introspection, I realized I am not very good at physical affection. The latter has been addressed, but I am not going to give up my passion for anyone. Sorry. Story 175. According to him and his fists, I talk too much. I was trying to talk him out of doing something unwise, but he was drunk. He calls, texts, and sends me emails trying to catch up. But my face still hurts when the weather is bad, so that is going to be a no from me. Story 176. That I am not exciting enough, too boring with daily routines and safety, and that I do not like to go outside my comfort zone. She was right about my comfort zone, even though I know she judged me too harshly. Story 177. I am a homebody. I am expensive. I do not like going on cruises. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.